Perfect.
All right, everybody, what's going on? And welcome to today's edition of SWAC Talk, the show we cover the SWAC inside and out. I'm your tour guide around the SWAC. See what else coming at you. And we're going to recap all the action from week 4 that took place on Thursday and Saturday. Man, we're going to talk about all the games that took place. Going to take a quick look at the games coming up next week. Going to take a look at the early season standings. And man, just gonna have a good time doing this. So with that being said, as usual, we got our weekly schedule of shows on our socials, which are Facebook is SWAC Talk, Instagram SWAC Talk, Twitter SWAC Talk 76. Tuesday we have our HBCU top 10 dropping, and we go over the point spreads for the week. And any tidbits that come from the coaches conference, which typically ain't much, but you never know sometimes. Wednesday will be our week 5 preview. Thursday, SWAC Smoke Live, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. I wanted to do a preview, do a pregame show this week, just passed on Saturday, but ended up not doing one. So I'm gonna try to do one on Saturday. Hopefully I get it in. If not, then we'll be back on Sunday with our recap of the week 5 action. So with that being said, man, why don't y'all go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that join button to become a member of the channel. Like the video, share them, and feel free to comment on the week 4 action and what you're expecting in week 5. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this, man. We're going to go ahead and start off with our Thursday night game. The Alabama A&M Bulldogs bounced back from their loss last week to beat Pine Bluff by a score 31-24. Taking a look back at my week 4 preview. I picked the Bulldogs to win this game by a score of 21-17. Game ended up a lot more high scoring than I thought. Pine Bluff played a pretty solid game in this game. They actually took advantage of an Alabama A&M fumble early in the game, and they were able to go 24 yards on 4 plays in 3 minutes and get a touchdown from Mekhi Higgins to Kevin English, and took the lead there. A&M was able to get their first score on a Victor Bobosa field goal to make the score 7-3. Bulldogs took their first lead at 10-7 late in the first quarter when Terrell Gardner caught a touchdown pass from Quincy Casey. Pine Bluff were tied up late in the second quarter, and then right before halftime, with about 51 seconds left, Jalen Macon threw a 12-yard touchdown pass to send the Bulldogs into the locker room. Send the Bulldogs in the locker room trailing 17-10. Second half, Pine Bluff seemed like they had this game under control, but at the same time, they never really felt like they had it on lock. A&M finally was able to put something together late in the third quarter with about 49 seconds to go. Donovan Eaglin scored on a 1-yard touchdown run to tie the game up at 17. Fourth quarter really was A&M's quarter. Barry White took over. Show you right. He took over and scored 2 touchdowns for the Bulldogs. One early in the fourth quarter from 29 yards out on a beautiful play call. They leaked him out. Nobody accounted for him because the SWAC don't cover tight ends. Nobody in the SWAC cover tight ends. I don't even understand why everybody's tight end doesn't catch at least 6 or 7 passes a game. Teams refuse to throw to them, and teams refuse to cover them. But Barry White leaked out, caught a 29-yard touchdown pass from Quincy Casey, gave the Bulldogs a 24-17 lead. Michael Jamerson caught a big pass from Jalen Macon for 80 yards to tie the score up at 24 on their very next possession. And then Alabama A&M was able to get a 5-yard touchdown pass from Casey to White to get the Bulldogs their final lead at 31-24. Big play late in the fourth quarter for Pine Bluff. they were driving to score. They were driving to score after responding to the A&M touchdown. They were down 31-24. They started at their own 39-yard line, drove down to the Bulldogs 16 on first and goal from the 16, because they actually had it at the 6 on first and goal. They had a holding penalty set them back to the 16, and then on that ensuing play, Jalen Macon was sacked for 4 yards and fumbled. That's a game-changing play right there. You figure with Pine Bluff being able to move the ball down the field, that they probably would have been able to cash that in for a touchdown. But Alabama A&M was able to get a strip sack, get the ball with 3:35 left at their own 20. They drove it down to their own. They drove it down to the 50 when they tried to go for it on 4th and 1 instead of just punting the ball away. Didn't get it, but Pine Bluff only had 14 seconds left to go 48 yards, and they were unable to do it. But they were able. They forced a fumble at the end of the game and picked up the win. But Pine Bluff played a really, really good game, man. I'm really liking the way this team is coming together. They still have a lot of issues to work out, but they have some potential pieces. They did play this game without Jonas Davis, who was one of the leading rushers in the conference. They have a couple other backs behind him who are solid, Jamerson and Curry, but they couldn't get the run game going in this game, finishing with 78 yards. Nice bounce back running game for Alabama A&M. This week they ran for 177 yards and 4.7 yards per carry with 1 touchdown. Big game for Quincy Casey as well, throwing for 328 yards, 27 of 33 for 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. They only had the 1 turnover on the early fumble. Pine Bluff turned the ball over 3 times. So Alabama A&M won the turnover battle this week, and they went on to win the game. 7.1 yards per play for the Bulldogs. Really, really good offensive game. Defense played pretty well as well. Like I said, they forced 3 turnovers. Held Pine Bluff to 320 yards. Highly penalized game, man. This game had 21 penalties for 184 yards between the two teams. Just a really sloppy game early, especially with penalties. But game kind of settled in late and got a little bit cleaner. 6 of 13 on 3rd down for Pine Bluff. Really good day for them. Bulldogs were 4 of 10. Both teams were pretty efficient in the red zone. Pine Bluff 3 of 5, A&M 4 of 4. Bulldogs 3 sacks, Golden Lions 1. Like I said, individually, Pine Bluff continues to play 2 quarterbacks, and I think they should go with Jalen Macon. He obviously has some experience from last season before he got hurt. This season he's been pretty steady. Sometimes he may take off before things are there, but he was 17 of 29 for 227 with 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 3 sacks. He did fumble once. Well, he fumbled twice, I believe. But a big game for him. Higgins was 3 of 6 on the night, so looks like Macon's going to be the guy. He did have to come out. Macon did have to come out a couple of times because his helmet came off, and that's why Higgins came in. Casey, like I said, 27 of 33, 328, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 sack. Big game for him. Donovan Eaglin, big bounce back game for him, 19 for 126, 1 touchdown, 6.6 yards per carry. Terrell Gardner, 4 for 69 and a touchdown. Like I said, Barry White, 2 touchdowns on 3 catches. Big game for him. Hamburg, 3 for 68. Jamerson led the Bulldogs with 80 yards and 1 touchdown. Maurice Lloyd led the team with 5 catches. Defensively, Rico Dozier, 17 tackles, 11 assisted tackles, 6 solo. Big game for him. Grant Ewell and Ryland Woods each had 10 tackles apiece. Tackles for loss. Khalil Arnold led the Golden Lions with 2. He also had their 1 sack. Boyd forced the fumble, and it was recovered by Rico Dozier. Alabama A&M was led by Zarion Hayes with 11 tackles, also 3.5 tackles for loss and 2 sacks, and a forced fumble for him. Interception was by Marquez Beeson. So really, like I said, this was a very competitive game. I thought Pine Bluff would be able to, compete in this game, but I thought A&M would really control this game. Pine Bluff actually, I feel like they drove the car in most of this game. They were able to kind of have their way, just could not consistently move the ball, could not consistently stay out of the way, and it ended up costing them. I do think A&M won this game really in spite of Coach Mano. Man, he made some really weird calls sometimes. A couple faked a punt that really didn't need to be there. That late fourth down call, could have hurt them, but they ended up surviving it. But they bounced back and they win their first conference game of the year. So that's all you looking for in conference players, to pick up wins. You need to stack up wins and keep pace, because teams are pulling out ahead. Our first Saturday game was the Circle City Classic in Indianapolis. North Carolina Central beat Valley by a score of 45-3. Valley continues to kind of slide further and further from that week one. Basically the story of this game was no Davius Richard, no problem for North Carolina Central. Walker Harris got the start. Davius Richard injured his ankle against UCLA, so they held him out for this game, and they did not really need him in this game. Eagles finished with 153 yards on the ground, 263 through the air, 5 touchdowns by Walker Harris through the air. Valley just struggled in this game, ran for 112, threw for 104, averaged 3.4 yards per play, 216 yards. They did have one turnover. They threw an interception. But, this was, Central did what they had to do to get through this game, really. When your starting quarterback is out, you want to just kind of make it. And Valley, they're still having problems. They were 4-17 on third down. They were 1 for 2 in the red zone. They missed the field goal. They were 1 for 2 on field goals. Never really got an opportunity to score a touchdown. So just a rough game for Valley in this one. They played 3 quarterbacks. Nobody really stood out. Ty Jerron Williams led the team with 11 of 22 for 81 yards. He was sacked 4 times. Jared Wilson ran the ball for 80 yards on the night. For 6.7 yards per carry, so pretty solid game for him. Latrell Collier led the Eagles with 75 yards on 16 carries. Malik Antoine led Valley with 5 catches for 44 yards. Twan Flip led the Eagles with 4 catches for 89 yards. They spread their passes around. Like I said, just a really solid outing for Central. Aaron Webb led Valley with 10 tackles. They only recorded 2 tackles for loss on the night, and like I said, no sacks. So no real pressure was put on Central, even with a backup quarterback. Valley just really was unable to make anything happen in this game. So they gave up a huge game to Kendrick DeJour. He finished with 6 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 3 pass breakups. Big game for him, for the Eagles. And for Valley, like I said, man, this was a rough non-conference outing. That's why I felt like the Central State game was huge for Valley, because you played Delta State, who was a really good team. They blew you out last year, and obviously they did the same this year. And you're playing the North Carolina Central team, who is the defending HBCU national champs. That's not an easy non-conference slate, and that Central State game was huge. And you lose it, it puts you behind the 8 ball early, because now you're searching for games to get wins, and it doesn't get any easier moving forward as you move into SWAC play. So this was a game that Valley really needed to come out and play well, not necessarily win. I mean, yes, it's great to win, but you wanted to come out and put on a decent showing. This team has a lot of holes to fill, and it's not unexpected with a new coach and a whole bunch of new guys off of a team that did not win anything last year. So this is a rebuild from scratch, and they just have to keep their nose to the grindstone, keep working, keep selling what they're selling, and hopefully, these early games don't impact that momentum that they built up early in the season. That's my biggest concern. They built up so much momentum early in the year, with the recruiting and everything, that you don't want guys to jump off ship. Because things aren't looking good. You're not even playing well, and losing. You're just not looking good right now. But you can still turn it around when conference play comes. because we all know the SWAC is topsy-turvy, especially this year. So you're not out of anything, but you want to try to keep that momentum going and try to, improve your play on the field. Our next game is Grambling and Texas Southern, Battle of the Tigers. In the hole, Grambling won this game 35-23. They led this game from start to finish. Floyd Chalk got Grambling on the board first with a 7-yard touchdown in the first quarter. A.J. Bennett caught a 41-yard pass from Jace Wilson to tie the game up for TSU. And then Lyndon Rash got a touchdown from Miles Crawley with 7 seconds left in the first half to make the score 14-7 at the half. TSU will get a field goal coming out of the half. Then Grambling will get a 11-yard run from Chance Williams, go 21-10. Evan Means will catch a pass from Jace Wilson from 34 yards out, bring the Tigers to within 4, 21-17. Grambling will get back on the board when Lyndon Rash will get another touchdown from Miles Crawley, this time from 11 yards out, 28-17. Jaron Johnson would get the Tigers or TSU back on the board with a 25-yard pass from Wilson, makes score 28-23. They missed the 2-point conversion. And then Grambling would close it out with Floyd Chalk scoring the first touchdown and the last touchdown, this time from 1 yard out. Extra point good. Grambling wins 35-23. If you're Texas Southern, it's a couple things you want to look at. Obviously, Andrew Body, his health is very important. Jace Wilson he had a couple rough games, in non-conference play against FBS opponents. Didn't necessarily have a great game today. He was 14-24 for 153, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, and 1 sack. Didn't turn the ball over. That definitely is good, but this offense is not clicking right now. And I mean, when you have a new quarterback, some things change with the way that the offense is run. TSU is not able to run the ball this week. Grambling, I was hard on y'all run defense, so I'm going to give y'all credit. Y'all really shut down some really solid running backs in this game. Held TSU to 118 yards and 3.8 yards per carry. Really big game on the ground for Grambling, 282, 5.9 yards per carry. Huge game on the ground for Grambling. Both quarterbacks were basically the same, 14-23 for Miles Crawley for 195. Like I said, Jace Wilson, 14-24 for 153. 3 touchdowns for Wilson, 2 for Crawley, neither one through an interception. Grambling did fumble once, so only 1 turnover in this game. Grambling had 11 penalties for 98 yards. That's huge. They had a big offensive pass interference that took away a big pass play down the field that could have led to an early touchdown. Those kind of things you got to kind of clean up. But Gremlins, they're playing a lot better now than they were at this point last year, being able to kind of play a whole game. Last season, Grambling was unable to play a whole game. They would play a good first half and a bad second half, or they would play a bad first half and a good second half. So they were able to at least play solid games, and it's showing. They're 2-2. They could easily be 3-1, but right now, they still have some things to kind of work on. But a solid home outing, holding TSU to 2 of 12 on third down is huge. Keeping the Tigers off the field. Grambling had the ball for 34 minutes. 5 sacks. 5 of 5 in the red zone. Grambling did have only 1 sack. But TSU, like I said, if you look at some of the numbers for TSU right now, the running game isn't really there right now. Ladarius Owens, 20 carries, 76 yards. Ja'Cory Howard had 5 for 36. The receivers who have the potential to be great right now, that the production is not there. Grambling, big game on the ground for Chance Williams. He finished with 19 carries for 174 yards and touchdown, averaged 9.2 yards per carry. Floyd Chalk, 17 for 88. He averaged 5.2 yards per carry with 2 touchdowns. Lyndon Rash, 4 for 58 for Grambling at 2 touchdowns. Defensively, Isaiah Bogarty led TSU with 10 tackles. Jacob Williams, 2.5 tackles for loss. Like I said, no sacks. No forced fumble, 1 forced fumble, but no interception. So was unable to force a turnover. Lewis Matthews led Grambling with 11 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Josh Darling had 2 tackles for loss. Lane Lewis, and Javon Carter each had a half a sack. I think Sunday Anderson got put out for a targeting penalty, so that hampers your defense a little bit. But if you're TSU, where do you go from here? I mean, your season is obviously not over yet, but like I said earlier, the health of Andrew Body is very, very important. I mean, the health of any of your players is very important. Don't get me wrong, but your starting quarterback, you don't want to if he's not there. I think you might need to consider just sitting him. I mean, like he hasn't played in 3 weeks. You got Lincoln coming up next week, and then you got a bye week the week after that. If he's healthy, he's even close to healthy, I would hold him to Bethune-Cookman, which is on the 14th. Give him a couple more weeks to get himself acclimated and get right. I mean, I don't think you need to rush him back, especially for the Lincoln game and with a bye week, following that. But if he's not there at all, then you might want to consider, redshirting him, man. I mean, you don't want to throw away a player's career for any kind of late push in the season. So Jace Wilson is capable of making things happen. They just have to find that consistency and get that ground game going again, because that hasn't been there. The defense still has been unable to stop people. They've given up 37, 71, 59, and 35 in 4 games. So, and they've gotten gashed on the ground in all of those games. They need to revamp this defense and get themselves back on track. You know what I mean? Right now, this team is not looking like the team that a lot of people thought was coming into the season. So they're gonna have to find a way to make some things happen. And Gramblin's, like I said, Gramblin's playing well. Salute to them. They've shown a few things that a lot of us kind of was questioning, and now they're a team to be in the mix in the conference right now. Our next game, Florida A&M, basically controlled this game against Alabama State. Won this game 23-10. They jumped out to a 7-0 lead. Marcus Riley, 24-yard pass from Musa. Alabama State got a field goal early in the third quarter. Jamari Gassett caught a 36-yard pass from Musa in the second quarter to make the halftime score 14-3. Asa Gregg will get a 47-yard pass from Damon Stewart to put the Hornets on the board, make the score 14-10. Cameron Gillis will get a field goal for FAMU in the fourth quarter, 17-10. And then Isaiah Major will get a 40-yard pick six for the Rattlers to make the score 23-10. FAMU offensively, Bama State has a really good defense. You can't take that away from anybody. You're going to have a hard time against this team moving the ball. That running game that FAMU had early in the season, it's kind of been up and down these last couple of weeks. Only 59 yards on the ground in this game. 2.8 yards per carry. The Hornets only ran for 14, 0.6 yards per carry. Both teams were solid through the air. Alabama State 23 of 38, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 289 yards. The Rattlers 294 through the air, 25 of 40, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. FAMU fumbled 2 times, so both teams had FAMU actually lost the turnover battle 2-1. Alabama State 303 yards total offense, 5 yards per play. Both teams ran 61 plays. Alabama State had 12 penalties for 93 yards. In a game against a team like FAMU, you cannot have penalties like that. You really, you need more consistency as an offensive unit, and Bama State still doesn't have that right now. They only had the ball for 23 minutes. So they, when you, if you don't have the ball much, you need to really be explosive and take advantage of those opportunities that you had the ball. They didn't. And FAMU was able to kind of grind out a win. Both teams finished with 1 sack apiece. Not a pretty game on either side. Damon Stewart got the start for Alabama State. He played the whole game. So is this the quarterback moving forward? I mean, obviously the passing game looked the passing game statistically looked better. The running game did not look good. So you kind of trade off one for the other, but you're playing a really good defense, so it's hard to take a lot from that. But Keyshawn Johnson still had another big game, 112 yards on 8 catches. He continues to be the guy for them. Jamari Shareed had 9 catches for 72 yards. Jeremiah Pruitt 4 for 60. Like I said, the running game for FAMU just wasn't there today. Musa was pretty solid. 25 of 40, 2 touchdowns, 1 sack, no interceptions, almost 300 yards. Defensively, Bubba Adams only had 6 tackles on the night. This is one of the first times in a long time that he finished with single-digit tackles. He had 1.5 tackles for loss on the night. Smith Cobb also had a tackle for loss. Isaiah Major led the Rattlers with 12 tackles. Gentle Hunt with 8. Gentle Hunt also had 3.5 tackles for loss. Alan Smith had a sack. Isaiah Major had the interception for a touchdown. Again, FAMU, they're in a different position than they're normally in this season. They're playing ahead this season instead of playing from behind. So, they're gonna have those games where they're not necessarily a team that's gonna look pretty when they win games. They have the talent, especially on offense, to kind of look sexy, but their defense is so strong that you have an off night. Your offense may not look that great, but you're probably going to win the game by 10 to 12 points. And the other team doesn't necessarily have an opportunity to keep themselves in the game. And you're probably going to see more games like this, but this team is in front right now. And, they're going to continue to keep the pace and make things happen. So Bama State still has a lot of things to answer on offense. The quarterback change this week was positive. But, is this going to be, is going to be the guy moving forward? Are they going to go back and juggle guys? This is not an end-all be-all, so we'll see how they handle this week in and week out. But the defense continues to play well, and the offense just is not backing them up, and that's tough for a team that's trying to keep pace with teams in the conference. A game that was the margin of victory, and honestly, the way the game went was a bit of a surprise. Bethune-Cookman was able to hang around with Jackson State all game, losing this game by a score of 22-16. Bethune-Cookman had a lot of opportunities in this game to kind of make some things happen, but they just couldn't really, capitalize on some mistakes from Jackson State. JSU basically survived this game, and this game was a lot uglier than a lot of us thought. I thought the score would be like 38-10 JSU, and I didn't really give Bethune-Cookman a lot of credit. I thought they played hard in this game. Quarterback injuries, it probably was going to derail Bethune-Cookman. I think they were down to their 5th quarterback in this game. If you had to go that deep into your quarterback room, things are not going to be good, and especially on a team that's turning over so many guys, new coaches, lot of new guys, it's tough. But I thought Bethune-Cookman held their own in this game, and basically keeping themselves in this game until the very end was a huge thing for them. Jackson State was able to get it done on the ground, 260 yards rushing, 5.8 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Bethune-Cookman didn't really do much offensively in this game, finished with 230 yards of offense, 3.8 yards per play. They did turn the ball over 3 times. Jackson State only threw the ball for 88 yards on the night, 14 of 25, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 8 penalties for 84 yards for Jackson State. They only punted the ball for 26-yard average. This was a rough game for Jackson State. If they were playing anybody else, they probably would have lost this game. And that's not a shot at Bethune-Cookman. I'm just saying, when you're playing a team that's down to the depths of their quarterback, the depths of their quarterback room, and a team that's not necessarily that good, to be honest. You make a lot of mistakes that team can't capitalize. A better team would probably have won this game, because you can't give a team that many opportunities to stay in a game. Bethune-Cookman was 0 of 14 on third down. That's definitely a killer. You just can't do that in games like this. So, this season is a work in progress for JSU. You figure they're gonna have some up and down games. This game was really a surprise to me. Like I said, a passing game for JSU just wasn't there today. Bethune-Cookman, Walter Simmons was 19 of 34 for 172 yards, 1 touchdown. He was sacked 3 times. The run game for JSU was big, especially Herb Mulligan. He ran for 174 yards and a touchdown, averaging 8.3 yards per carry. Desmond Moultrie ran for 40 yards, 6.7 yards per carry. Rico Powers had 7 catches for 60 yards. Really was the only guy to really make an impact. Seven McGee did catch a touchdown pass, but he only had 2 catches for 16 yards. Dakari Allen Johnson had 4 catches for Bethune-Cookman for 75 yards and a touchdown. Darius Thomas finished with 10 tackles for Bethune-Cookman, 2 tackles for loss. Bethune-Cookman actually had a pretty solid game, as far as defensively. I thought they played about as well as they could with what their offense is capable of against a team that can run the ball like JSU. Isaac Pepper, 6 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks. He also had a safety. I've said it a couple of times already, and like I said, this game wasn't pretty. And when you're playing conference ball, it is not always how great you look. Sometimes you can have a game where you kind of get by, but there are some concerns in a game like this. Did you overlook this team? Was this team playing out of their minds? I don't feel like Bethune-Cookman played well enough offensively for that to be the case. So I think JSU just really needs to, get back to the drawing board. That bye week comes at a great time for JSU coming off of this game. They can lock in and get themselves ready for the bulk of conference play. You picked up a win, which is very, very huge. Trying to keep pace with FAMU, you need all the wins you can get. You can't afford to fall even further behind. So whether it's pretty or ugly, it was a win, and you take it and you go into your bye week and get yourself right. The final game of the day was our game of the week, and it turned out to be a really good game. I thought Alcorn would win this game by a score of 22-16. The Panthers got a game-winning field goal with no time left to win this game from 46 yards out to win this game 23-20. Back and forth affair. Alcorn scored first. Tavarius Griffin, who I think should be a big part of this offense, because again, tight ends need to be a factor in everybody's offense. He caught a 19-yard pass from Aaron Allen, put the Braves up 7-0 early. That kept a 91-yard drive that took 16 plays. Basically stretched between the first and second quarter. So really a grinded out drive. They came with 11:25 in the second quarter. Trezon Conley got a 6-yard run for the Panthers to tie the game up at 7 with 2:05 left in the second quarter. Noah Kiani, with no time left in the first half, will get a 30-yard field goal for Alcorn, capping another 10-play drive. That took 68 yards and 2:53 off the clock to make the score 10-7 at the half. Noah Kiani will get another field goal for Alcorn from 25 yards out this time. Another long drive, 8 for 67. That took 4:13 off the clock. Alcorn led 13-7. Trajan Spiller, glad to see him bounce back from a rough season last year. I think he had a couple injuries. He scored with 29 seconds left in the third to make the score 14-13 after the half. At that point. 6:50 left in the fourth quarter. Amar Antoine got Panthers back on the board with a 4-yard run. Extra point, no good. 20-13. The Panthers took the lead there. Kept the lead there at 20-13. 4:05 left in the game. Malik Rogers caught a 49-yard pass from Aaron Allen. Extra point was good. 6 plays, 76 yards, took 2:38 off the clock. tied the game up at 20. And then let's set the stage, man. Let's look at the play-by-play and set the stage for this final score for Prairie View. So Alcorn, let's see where we at. So Alcorn will get their touchdown to Malik Rogers. That score came with 3:54 left in the game. Prairie View would get the ball at their own 17, and they would drive the ball and use that clock all the way down to the Alcorn 29-yard line, where they would set up for a Guillermo Garcia Rodriguez field goal from 46 yards out. It was good. Prairie View would get the win there. Really, really good game, man. Like I say, both teams, they traded punches. This was the kind of game that you want for your game of the week, number one. This is the kind of game you want for two teams who are trying to battle it out for the division. I thought both teams had chances to win this game. Prairie View with a really, really good drive. Like I said, they finished the game. They basically ran the fourth quarter out on that last drive. So when you have a team like Prairie View who can do that, especially with their run game and an improving passing game, that really helps. That was a 10-play drive that went 54 yards and took 3:54 off the clock. So that's salting a game away, and that comes from a team with an experienced offensive line, a team that believes in what their offense can do, and a team that can execute. Prairie View's defense played a really good game against the run this week, holding Alcorn to 97 yards rushing on 23 carries. The Panthers ran for 126 yards. So neither team really ran the ball up to their standards in this game. Alcorn held Prairie View to 3.6 yards per carry. They did have 2 rushing touchdowns. Prairie View passed for 187 yards. They were 12 of 19, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Alcorn 26 of 37 for 287 through the air, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Really good passing game for Alcorn. We've been really critical of the passing game for Alcorn. The run game wasn't there today, and the passing game showed up, and that kept the Braves in the game. 5.8 yards per play for Prairie View, 6.4 for Alcorn, 313 total offense for the Panthers, 384 for the Braves. 11 penalties for 75 yards for Prairie View. That was a big issue in this game. Alcorn only had 3 penalties for 40 yards. Neither team really punted the ball very well, both around 33 yards average. Prairie View had the ball for 31 minutes and 10 seconds. Alcorn 28-50. Both teams were okay on third downs. Alcorn 4-12. Prairie View 3 of 9. Both teams were really good in the red zone. Prairie View 2 of 2. Alcorn 3 of 4. Prairie View had 1 sack. Alcorn no sacks. I feel like Alcorn, defensive pressure would be a factor in this game, and it didn't really. Like I said, John Conley didn't get sacked. I mean, he is a guy who can make things happen with his legs. So, it's kind of tough to get the pressure on him sometimes, but Alcorn wasn't really able to do that. Like I said, Connolly was 12 of 19 for 187 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Aaron Allen, 26-37, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, was sacked once, 287 through the air. Mark Antoine led the Panthers with 78 yards on 16 carries and 1 touchdown. Jarvion Howard, 13 for 41 for Alcorn on the ground. Brian Jenkins had 2 catches for 61 yards to lead the Panthers. Trezon Spiller, 4 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown. Malik Rogers, 3 for 86 for Alcorn and a touchdown. Montario Hunt, 6 for 72. Griffin, 6 for 69 and a touchdown. Keyshawn Johnson led the Panthers with 13 tackles on the night. Derek Ray led the team with 2 tackles lost, also had 1 sack. Alcorn was led by Terrence Ellis with 16 tackles. Big game for him. They had 4 guys with 1 tackle for loss apiece, and like I said, no sacks. Leachman had an interception for the Braves, and this was a very close game, a competitive game. Neither team really had that much of a lead. Nobody jumped out too far in front. So it was like a back and forth affair. Alcorn's biggest lead was 6. Prairie View's biggest lead was 7. So this was, this was two teams trading punches, and that's really what you want in a game like this, when you're battling it out for early conference leads. So honestly not a bad week of SWAC football. This was the first full week of SWAC football. 5 conference games on the schedule, 1 non-conference game. So pretty much a full SWAC week. Southern was the only team off this week. Looking at week 5 really quickly, like I said before, Jackson State and Bethune-Cookman are both off this week for week 5. Lincoln is at Texas Southern. There's a 2 p.m. kick. It's homecoming in the 3rd ward for the Tigers. So they have their homecoming opponent. Also homecoming on the hill for the Bulldogs. They play Tuskegee on Saturday. Also a 2 o'clock kick. That game is on HBCU Go. The Texas Southern game can be seen on AT&T Sportsnet Southwest. Southern is at Pine Bluff. That's a 4 p.m. kick on the UAPB Sports Network. Alcorn is at Alabama State. There's a 5 p.m. kick in the Gump. Prairie View and Grambling face off in the State Fair Classic. That's a 6 p.m. kick. FAMU is at Valley, also a 6 p.m. kick. Early indication, my game of the week will be the State Fair Classic. Both teams undefeated in conference play right now. So that's a big West Division game right there. So that'll be my game of the week. Taking a quick look at the standings after the first full week of conference play, FAMU leads the East at 2-0. They're 3-1 overall. Jackson State is 1-1, 3-2 overall. Alabama A&M 1-1, 2-2 overall. Alabama State 0-1, 1-2 overall. Bethune-Cookman 0-1, 1-3 overall. Valley has not played a conference game. They're 0-0 and 0-3 overall. Prairie View is 2-0 in conference, 2-2 overall. Grambling 1-0, 2-2 overall. Southern 1-0, 1-2 overall. Alcorn 0-1, 1-3 overall. Pine Bluff 0-1, 1-3 overall. Texas Southern 0-2 and 0-4 overall. So nobody's necessarily out of anything yet, but when you right now, Prairie View and FAMU are both the front runners because they both have 2 wins right now, and they both have 2 divisional wins. So they have leads. They have substantial leads over the 2 teams that they each beat. So it's going to be interesting to see how teams start to keep pace as the season shapes on. But we are pretty much in SWAC play from now on. So every game is very important. Everybody has a lot to prove. Everybody has a lot to lose. So we'll be back Tuesday with our HBCU top 10 poll and our look at the point spreads. And then Wednesday we'll have our week 5 preview. So with that being said, I'm your tour guide around the SWAC signing out. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.